just received today. Brazil.
Basically, for us in this episode, that's what we want to really do. Talk about topics that are not appealing. And definitely I would have loved if Chael Sonnen or somebody was doing it instead of me, because Chael is one of the best storyteller I've ever seen. Yeah, you know, he can make anything sound interesting. Anything sounds like you want to listen to it. But today it's me, and we have to do it. So thank you for being on the show, and thank you for coming here. Thank you for being in Bahrain. Thank you for supporting Middle Eastern MMA. You are today. It started with passion for sure. I'm sure, like everybody else, we all in the MMA community start things with passion. But today you are a big part of the growth and the future of mixed martial in the Arab world and the Middle East world. And it's a pleasure to have the chat with you. We do have a lot of collaborations and partnerships that we do in our business world, but to sit and have the chat and pick your brain a little bit, it's something that I think is an honor for me.
I'd like to hear them or not, and I believe this is the right platform.
Absolutely, there's no point sitting. I always say that there's no, we shouldn't be those people that sits back in a office and complain about things internally. Speak it out, let the people know. Agree with it, don't agree with it, doesn't matter, but let's talk, let's discuss, let's put that topics out there. And I think instead of going out and complaining about fighters getting paid less or promotions not being proper business platforms, forget about all that, find out what the problem is and how to solve it. Why did everybody talk about the solution? We always talk about the problem because that's great to know, and it's good to click on it and get the information and point fingers at people. But it's our pleasure, and it's our duty to be able to do that for our close partners, definitely. Tell me a little bit about your journey with MMA. How did you think of starting an MMA media platform? What was that mind going through that? When did that happen? Why did you go through that? What was the past before that? Give me a little bit of insight.
Great that you asked me this question, because many people are asking me also. They think that, are you a coach or an MMA fighter or what for starting this page? So I am Yousef. I'm a mechanical engineer. I've been working for almost 14 years. Before I was working as a maintenance mechanical engineer, where we do repairs for turbines, pumps, compressors, valves. And now I'm related more to supply chain and purchasing of spare parts, managing warehouses. And I had this passion to MMA since 2010. Before that, I used to watch football, World Cup, Barcelona, those sort of things. Then in 2010, I started watching MMA where there was a promotion at that time in Jordan, Desert Force.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I saw some Arab fighters fighting. Then I researched about it, then I knew about UFC, and then I watched several bouts, and it wasn't like consistent every week I need to watch. If there is something, some famous fighters are fighting, then I would watch. Then it came to Abu Dhabi in 2012. Some of my friends wanted just to go and watch, like if it's a musical theater or something. There's something happening in Abu Dhabi, let's go. Yeah. And I wanted to book, then it was fully booked. I couldn't book tickets. And I thought, why? What's going on there that people want to come and watch and I cannot get my tickets? And you know the term FOMO, fear of missing out. That there is something in this sport that I don't know. Let me watch it at least in home and see about it. Then I got addicted to it.
True.
Then what made me made a channel? I used to have several Arab fighters friends who come to Abu Dhabi to compete, and I watched their bouts physically there in Abu Dhabi, and I used to discuss with them what is going on, what is happening. Then some of my friends, when I discuss with them about MMA, they tell me, you have passion about MMA, we don't like it, but when you talk about it, we feel that we want to watch it. And when they ask technical questions about like what are they doing on the ground, why they are hugging each other, what is going on in the clinch, and then we go to that debate that Muay Thai is better or Jiu-Jitsu is better. Then I decided just let me try and have a channel and see. It's for fun.
It's
only.
also the education, right? So I think that's one of the reasons why we say that in our industry, in MMA industry, it's built by passionate lovers of the sport, of mixed martial art. So when the whole world didn't care about our sport once upon a time in 1993 or 91, the early days, it was built by fans and people who value the sport in all ways. So if you look at the gyms, it was owners were MMA lovers. If you look at managers, it's not like the managers we have in football or NBA where we have the actual talent agencies with all the resource and multi-billion budget. No, it was just MMA fighters turned into managers, MMA fans turned into managers. And till today, we are in that position where the biggest managers and the management companies are built by MMA lovers. And so is the MMA media industry are built by MMA lovers. It's not that we had Forbes or ESPNs and all these guys in the early days coming in and saying we want to do an MMA version of it. We have the MMA fighting and the bloody elbows and MMA junkies and bjpen.coms. I mean, if you look at the names itself, you know that it was built by fans and lovers. And today they are all of them transitioning. Every country, every region is building something big. So for me, I know that the key point was we had this special thing that we could all capitalize on. We could all eat from this big cake, whether it's promoters doing promotions because the sport is globalizing, media platforms, media industry of MMA because there was no other mainstream media that was covering this, and we have the opportunity to educate them, and they don't have the education which we have, like yourselves, who's doing the education for the people who don't understand what mixed martial art is and what's going on really, right? Even when I went to France, it was a very interesting thing that we skipped because we're so much into MMA that we forget that some of the people don't know as deep as we know about the sport. And simply saying that, oh, MMA is a sport where you have a lot of Olympic combat sports together in one. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. That's the way to put it. For us, we are like, now it's the sport. It is a strategic sport. Blah blah blah. We speak from a 30-year experience of MMA. While you need it to be more simplified. And I think that with media platforms like yourselves, that is a great thing to have that prioritized, where you are, like you mentioned, to tell the fans what's going on the ground, what's going on, and even for commentators to explain how rounds are judged, because a lot of people don't understand what is a 10-9 system. Do you have to hit 10 times to get 10 points? How does it work? So all that education is important. And that's why I think for us, as well as Brave Combat Federation and KHK Sports, we believe that there is a lot more education we should do to our industry. So there's two things. Our industry is educating the people, but who's educating our industry? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's also a scope for us to learn more from the sporting world, that we can develop our industry into a better position. And that's missing because it's young, for sure. It's viral, for sure. It has grown at a very fast pace, whether it's a company valuation or the growth of globalization. It has gone at a very fast pace. We need to sit and look back and say that our industry needs change, our industry needs reform, our industry needs to be compatible with every other industry in sports that exists, economically as well, regulation-wise as well, and also by becoming a structural platform, an infrastructure that is structural, where we don't have to have a son or a daughter who wants to be an MMA fighter, and they say that I have a dream to be an MMA fighter, and we're like, okay, go to a gym, train, okay, and then what? Yeah, I think, I don't know, Do we put them in a club or something where the club has a system? There's nothing. You have no idea. It's very random. Promoters like myself are sitting on a throne, and fighters are and managers and people are saying, hey, could you give him a fight? Could you give him a fight? That should not be the structure. I should not be the judge or decision maker for an individual's talent. What if I don't like his face? What if I don't like his accent? What if I don't like where he comes from? Who am I to take that decision? If he has a talent, he should have the opportunity to be there. Do we have a structure for it? the climbing ladder structure. I think those are the things that we don't speak about in the MMA industry, and I think that is a huge topic, because when we discuss in the media about fighters and we talk about promotions, we're always talking about different topics, but not the topic that is should be the real problem that could be the solution. And I think media industry like yourself, so I want to talk a little bit about the media platforms as well. If we have an ecosystem and that structure, just like that kid I was talking about who didn't have the structure to become the best, the same way the media industry today as well is suffering, just like managers are, just like gyms are, just like 6,990 promotions are in the world suffering, because the industry does not know who they are. So when we're looking at it, we're like, should we cover UFC content because that's the most famous content? So when we cover the UFC content, we should be getting more clicks and likes and followers and comments on it, and that's the direction. But there's no structure behind it. You can't be a promotion in Brazil and stick to the Brazilian MMA and have 1,000 times more value than the international content. You don't have a relevant structure going on, and I think it's not anybody's fault. It's a fault of taking the step towards going forward and saying, let's work together and let's make that happen. Let's create a national ecosystem, a regional ecosystem, and make that more powerful than anything. And I think that is one thing I really think is a little bit missing in our community. And that's not just Middle East, by the way. I've traveled to 29 countries in 5 continents with Brave. And that's the same issue that you find in many places, because American sports industry is the most media friendly. And we are absorbing from that and capitalizing on that, which is absolutely great to do it. But we are neglecting the whole amount of money, economy, and opportunity that we could have built in our own country, in our own region. And I think that is where we need to educate our industry that let's take that step and work together. Do you ever, being in this media industry, did you ever feel like there are any challenges within the industry for the growth of your business?
Oh yeah, definitely. You highlighted several pain points throughout your talk. The first one is about the audience of MMA. So when I started MMA 101, as you are aware, 101 is for the beginners. If you take calculus 101 or math 101, this is the basics. So the objective or the vision of the channel is to educate the people who don't know about MMA about MMA. So there is, if we talk in engineering way, there is a transmitter and a receiver. The signal should be matching, otherwise they won't understand what you are talking about. How to judge that? Just read the comments on any MMA post. You will see some educated audience who know what is going on and what they are saying is making sense. Others, you know that they don't understand what they are watching. Maybe they like fights, they like to see brutal fights even in the hood. Others, they don't even care about watching what is going on. So MMA 101, I started by putting videos about the basics of MMA. That it's not just about 2 guys fighting each other and one of them will come out, the other will die. No, it's not like that. There are rules. You have to follow the rules. It's an ethical sport. These fighters who are fighting each other, they are not enemies. They have sportsmanship. I'm highlighting the positive in MMA.
True.
Yeah, that they are doing this. It's business at the end of the day, and the day after they will have tea with each other and they will train with each other. Yeah. This is the beauty of the sport. I'm highlighting and putting more effort on highlighting these nice sides of it.
Absolutely.
Yesterday we had a great judging course, and I benefited a lot from it, judging and reffing. By the way, I'm a certified international judge.
Amazing.
Yeah, since last year. And this helped me also to first to see the fights from a different perspective. When I judge the fight, what is going on, it's based on theory that I studied and I passed. It's different from being a fanboy just watching. When I joined this, it's because of my belief that continuous learning is the key. Until we die, we learn new things every day. Now, there was a different instructor who is Mr. Sharif. He gave us insightful things about MMA, the philosophy of MMA, and how to ref, how your role as a ref inside would save a life and ensure the safety of the fighters. this knowledge is helpful for parents even who are hesitant to put their children to fight, that it's safe. If you have children less than 10 years old, they won't be hit on their faces. They have protection, and there are rules to protect them.
True.
Yeah, this is one aspect. The second one, about people who don't know about MMA, hundreds of them, they keep contacting me. As you are with Brave, can you arrange for a fight for us? Then I ask them, okay, can you show me your topology or Sherdog profile? What is that? I don't know. Okay, do you have any amateur fights that you had so I can see your videos? No, but in the hood, he's beating everybody. I tell him, okay, but that's different. This is a sport. Does he have any fights, or have he tried? No, but he watched the Brave event and he told me that he can beat all the guys who fought inside the cage. So still you feel that these people, they need to be aware about the system. It's not like anybody who wants to enter the cage.
But I think that guy, even if you educate him, he really believes that he can beat everybody. I think there are people like that who when I had a gym, definitely, right? Definitely there was guys coming in and they believe that, you know, what are you guys doing here? You know, martial arts and all this stuff. You know, we can beat you up. I fought 5 guys at one time. You know, and I beat all
with one hand.
With one hand, yeah. So that's the mentality, and they have to. The first thing I think they should do is go to a serious gym and go and train. You know, and I think that's a very humbling experience. And I always respect people who do that transition. Like in our coming event, Brave 72, we have Mahsen, who is the Cristiano Ronaldo of Wushu Sanda. There's only 3 people who has achieved what he has achieved. Nobody has achieved better than
I
more than
interviewed
him.
him today.
You interviewed him?
Yeah.
So imagine that, 5-time world champion, 3-time Asian Games champion, 1-time silver medalist at the World Championship, national team captain, and you decide to go for more challenge and come to MMA when you are the greatest in your sport. Nobody has achieved anything one step more than what you have achieved, but still to go to a different sport, it's a very humbling experience, because to do that, you had to go through being the best in a sport. You still had to go and become a white belt in another sport. You must have gone and trained jiu-jitsu, you must have gone and trained wrestling, and it must have been a humbling experience. But that is a lot of respect for me, because that's when you know that the greatness is in that person. And the lowest point of that, the opposite of that humbling experience, that is when you don't do anything and you want to go and fight, or you think that you can beat up people. I think that is the least respectful attitude, right? And there are people who have the mentality because of their circle, you know, a bunch of friends around them who are weaker than them as well, who make them feel strong. But if they are true fighters in their mind and heart, doesn't have to be a martial artist, but if they have that mentality and that feeling of I want to be a fighter, I think I can beat people up, that's fine. It's good to think that way, and that's kudos to your mindset. But go and do things that you are not comfortable with. Can you do that? Otherwise you can never be the best in the world. You have to do what you're not good at, you know. And that's always where I think athletes are becomes the greatest, is when they train from a young age about what am I not good at. That's what I want to be involved with. But I've trained many athletes, and many of them developed to become professional fighters from a very young age with me. But as they were growing, I've seen the mentality changes. You know, some of the guys didn't want to. They became so good at something that they didn't want to train what they're not good at, because they didn't want to feel that bad feeling where the guys that they used to beat up in the striking area, now those guys are submitting them in jiu-jitsu. I just don't want that my ego to be affected, you know. And that's it. And then their career just falls down because of one self-inflicted issue, which is their own ego. And I think that's a big part of martial arts. No, it's you must be going through all of that when it comes to media, right? Like the experience of people reaching out to you and talking to you. I think that's interesting. Any other crazy experiences you go through when people reach out to you in media, on the media side?
One time it happened that one of the fighters, he posted that he was fighting in a promotion, and after 1.5 years he didn't get paid. Okay, so he told me that this promotion didn't do that and so on. At that time, I had only maybe 2,000 followers, something like that. So I didn't feel that media has an importance or somebody will look at you. And that guy, he's weak in English. So I posted a story and I wrote in English that please pay your fighters, and if you don't pay them, nobody will come and fight in your promotion and so on. But it was in a polite way, and I tagged the organization. Within half an hour, they contacted me. Please delete that story. We agreed with the fighter that we will pay him in 1 week. So I checked with the fighter. He said, yeah, but they didn't fix. They kept promising me that since a long time. So I took them with them back, and they told me, okay, we agreed with the fighter that within 2 days we will pay him. I asked him. He said, yeah, I deleted but the post. You can delete the story as well. At that time, I felt that. Media, even if you don't have that much followers, it's impacting, the reputation of organization.
Absolutely.
And at the same time, there are people who are always having negative impressions about the promotions, that they are not fair.
Absolutely.
They have judges that favor fighter over others. They are not doing the right thing. These people also, you can educate them that everybody by nature, you will see that people hating their managers, the CEOs, they are doing the right, they are not doing the right thing. But if you are in their place, maybe you would do the same thing. You would see things from a helicopter view that at the moment you can't see that. So such awareness in both sides can make people understand each other better.
Absolutely, and that's. We always say this is why for me, I always say that we look at it from a foundation side of things, how to build a foundation that can. All these are problems, to be honest. I mean, we can say that, for example, in Brave, we are one of the organizations that must have had a lot of complaints on refereeing and judging, right? In the initial stages, yes. In the initial stages, I do agree that the referee and judges that was not at the highest quality, and we had to take that step, which we are not supposed to in a real world, because we don't have an international FIFA structure or anything. As a promotion, we can't remove them, which I don't agree to, because if it's a FIFA appointed referee, I can't say that, I don't like this guy, he needs to go. I can't do that, I can't put the guys I like in the organization. But we did have a lot of challenges. We could do it, so we did it. And then the new organization that came in as the refereing and judging, a lot of people don't know that these are independent bodies. The referees and judges, they have their own organization, world commissions, where they're working with, today, the course you took with Mr. Sharif, he's one of the judges we have in the organization. He's not a Brave employee. He's not a person that we are...
Independent,
completely independent, right? And people don't have an idea about it. They don't know what is an independent. But again, to give a little bit of credit to them as well, not all of them, but many of them, who also know and still feel that, is because there are still a lot of organizations where it is not independent. So that's still that story is still going on in promotions. So the system is. So who do we blame? Is it is it the people that does not understand, or who understands, and they're like, but I've seen this happen before. I've seen referees and judges doing this. I've seen match fixing in MMA. I've seen all of these weird things happen, and I've seen matchmaking. Literally, to build one guy, you make him fight a guy who's going to lose. Literally, your plan was he should lose. There's been recorded conversations of this as well. So, and I'm not talking about 100 years back, right? It's we're talking about 5 years, 6 years back. We're living in that world. So, where is the problem? And I think the problem is that we are not talking about having a FIFA structure. When I mean FIFA structure, a lot of people will be like, "Do you think FIFA is not corrupt?" Or those conversations starts happening. But I say that, but it is a corruption that we're still discussing. People are talking about, But if we don't have something to talk about, and it is there in our blood and vein and in our system, then we are literally, I don't want to use the word, but messed up, I mean, that's where we are. So I think MMA needs that. But you're right. I think a lot of people don't understand from different perspectives. And I think that education is a key part for it. And a lot of people don't understand media platforms as well. And I also always say that let's not forget we are all same. We're all in the industry. And we have to look at each other's issues. And a lot of media platforms don't understand MMA industry as well. And I say that because when we look at it, every media needs a pillar. Whether it's Fox and CNN needs U.S. Politics, everybody needs a pillar. If Fox and CNN didn't have the U.S. pillar as a country, and if they were talking a lot about us in the Middle East, we wouldn't give a damn about what they're speaking, because they're not relevant to us, and we are more relevant to what we speak internally. Like if I had a Bosnian or a Belarusian or let's say an Azerbaijani media, MMA media talk about us, it is not as important as MMA 101 talking about me, because that's more relevant for you. Regardless of they have 1 million followers and you might not have the 1 million followers, it doesn't matter. That's more relevant for me. And vice versa. It's the opposite way as well, where MMA media people don't realize that what should be my pillar is actually the ecosystem with me, whether it's my organization within the region or which is my MMA gyms within the region or my MMA fighters. But we don't realize that. We look at the fighters, we're like, yes, but even those fighters, we are not fair to them that when they fight in the organization that is your organization, a relevant organization in the Middle East or based in the Middle East, we still don't give them as much importance as fighting in another organization abroad, and that's where we are saying that you're digging your own grave in the end of the day. Eventually 10 years of work as a media organization, because I come from the media world, that's one of my strengths and fortes, that's why I'm speaking about media. So when we reach 10-15 years of working, we work hard and hard and hard, every story we're getting it, but then we look at 15 years and we see, okay, after 15 years I still realize that I am secondary, because I was working hard and hard and hard to be getting maximum from that organization which I am not relevant to. And eventually I will never beat the MMA fightings and the MMA junkies and the bloody elbows, and they will always be my bosses or the big brothers, and I will always be the little guy in front of them, because for them these are relevant, and for them they are relevant. And we were fighting with each other, not maybe fighting, but we were like, hey, I love you, see you, and we are distant friends, and we both are trying to get there. We're trying to get to MMA fighting, and those guys, as a media, is trying to get to UFC and those guys, and eventually we were the two idiots who didn't really try to build our own ecosystem. It's a very simple way, in a layman's way I put it, but that is something that I've seen in MMA industry, not just in Middle East, but around the world as well, that we think the English-speaking sport and market of USA is today controlling the world, and that's always been that system, because US sports does not need the world. Whether you look at MLB, you look at MLS, in football as well, but they're not big in that. But if you look at NBA, is done a little bit more, NFL, the rest of the world, if you look, you're into the sports world, but I'm into only the combat sports world, and the sports world is there. But if you ask me about American sports, NFL, other than Tom Brady, I don't know who's the Messi of them. Tom Brady might be the Cristiano, because I'm a Cristiano fan, so he might be the greatest of all time. But with that being said, I don't know who's the Messi. I really don't know who's the Messi. And baseball, I don't even know who's the Cristiano of baseball. I really don't know, So, and I'm sure that if we go out right now and ask 50 people about the baseball's greatest player in US, or from MLB, let's say, because the league, I don't know if they have international players playing there, I think out of 50 people, 5 or 10 would be the only one, and that's me being generous, who would know who's the top players, if they are deep into sports, they might know it. But you get where I'm going with this, that we are, and I look at our industries, and I speak this in India, I speak this in Central Asia, I speak about this in Europe, every country, even to South America where I go, I say that you have to understand that if you can create a national ecosystem or a regional ecosystem, you will realize that you could take everything off the roof. Today you have the largest market for sports in this region. You have the PFLs, ones, UFCs, everybody wants to come to this part of the world. Why? Because this is the hot cake, this is the hot topic for sports as a whole, and even for MMA, it is a hot topic. And we still have you and me and our people in all the industry, whether it's gyms, whether it's management companies, or whether it's media or promotions, where we are worried about their ecosystem, and we think we will be credited or get our ranks if we are on their media platforms, or if our media is on their promotions, and we forget to build what we had here, and they end up coming and taking everything from us, what we should have had as well, because we made them big.
True.
So when they come here, we're like, wow, you know, and then everybody else who's supposed to pay the money and put that investment and that economy for building our own says, if you guys are saying wow, who are the experts of the sport in our industry, then it should be wow. I'll go with them because you respect them more than us. And
Let me go to the ace.
Absolutely, because you said it, I said it, you know, and that's what we did. And I think that is something that I'm really think that it's all our faults, you know. We all have a role to play in it, and we all have a role to come together and say that let's build our own industry. When UFC started, the mainstream media, nobody focused on them. And then the media platforms were just people who want to cover things, you know, like share the stories and everything else. But then they piggybacked off this promotion that was being really consistent and not giving up and doing the best they can do and go all the way for the sport, you know. And you need to have that pillar, and you need to have everybody else that can have faith in that pillar and say that let's all piggyback and make sure that we make this ecosystem on that pillar. And I think today in Middle East, we don't need to look for that pillar. We have the likes of UAE Warriors, we have the likes of Brave Combat Federation that are doing amazing jobs in their own perspective. We have media platforms like yourselves. We have the whole ecosystem. We just need to respect ourselves and be together and know that let's build it for our market that we have here, and let's make that the most important market, and that market become a sports MMA economy that we all benefit from. The gyms will benefit from that, because those gyms are bigger topic than the AKAs and the ATTs and so on. So these gyms are more important, and athletes will become more important, because today, how many athletes do we know that was at a regional level and then came to global level with Brave, got the promotion that was unheard of, and then think of going to international organizations, and if it wasn't for you guys really pushing it, outside of you guys, how much attention did they get? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not very relevant, you know, just like the Central Asian athletes. So I see that part. I know that it's much a different topic, but where is the industry for you today when it comes to MMA, and you're part of the industry? Where do you see as a media platform your biggest, how can you capitalize and be part of the industry, and how can we improve it?
Yeah. I believe in something. Burj Khalifa is the highest skyscraper in the world. If you look at the base of Burj Khalifa, it might be like 20 stories building down. You don't see that. This is the base. You need to have a strong base, big, in order to go and be on the top. Similarly in Brave, even MMA 101 and all other regional MMA media, we need to focus on our base. We have like how many residents in the Middle East, to focus on these people. If we have these people following us, knowing that this MMA promotion like Brave, they are taking care of us, they are giving us opportunity. By default, you will see more shops selling fight gears. You will see more gyms opening, because there is a high demand for the sport. Similarly, for MMA, I can focus on UFC and other promotions outside, but as you mentioned, how can I compete with other MMA podcasts who are there since so many years, and they are more relevant to their people there? Okay, I can give some news about these promotions to our audience who are watching. Yeah, because
an industry.
Yeah, it's the industry, and we have so many people who are watching outside, but also we need to highlight what we have here.
True.
Don't always look there that they are the best and we have nothing. There are still people who believe this, that here we have nothing. Always in USA they are much better, so I would tend to watch there. Why to waste my time here? But now when they are seeing that Hamza Chimaev is the hype in UFC, and now Ikram Aliskerov, and I'm sure that UFC will try to make them match up somewhere after they build Ikram. What is their origin? They were in Brave. And you are seeing the best fighters in the world are fighting here, and they are going there, and people, maybe they don't know them in Brave, they know them when they go to UFC.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's that's the thing. And what we always say is these are organizations that has a message of PR, which they say that we are doing for the fighter, but they're not really doing for the fighter. They're looking for fighters who can provide them value. On the other hand, as Brave, we are looking for what values we can give the fighters, and that's a genuine action plan. And that's why when you look at organizations like UFC, they look at it and they say, okay, they're already done, cooked, ready, take them, and absolutely right, smart decision to do as well. Nothing against it. It's the best. It is the right plan to do. So if you look at Ikram now, I think he's fighting Costa in the upcoming fight in the main card as well. So
Costa is number 5 and Ikram is not ranked.
Yeah. So you see the difference because they know it's already cooked material that they're getting. It's not something they have to build up. Nothing. We have done that part for them, and it's from Johnny Walker, Francis Ngannou, Ikram, Mokaev, Chimaev, Ilya Topuria, Ngannou. You think about all the guys, whether not only in PFL or Bellator or UFC, even in one championship from the Southeast Asian guys, but they're all built. But we are looking at it and saying that we have the ecosystem, we have the foundation. We just need. It's important for us to talk about the industry itself, and we need to say that these organizations will still remain. And I always say they will remain as Nokias of today. And that they and we are, for us, Brave Combat Federation is not a BlackBerry or Samsung of that time to compete with Nokia. Nokia is 80% market share, right? So we were always Apple, and that's always been the statement that we give. And the reason why is it's a new ecosystem. It's something much more bigger than a phone. We are making sure that with that phone, you will be able to use laptop. You'll be able to have something that wakes you up in the morning. You will have your earbuds, everything, a full ecosystem for your life to be controlled. I'm not saying that's a positive thing, but in MMA, I mean, the full ecosystem is what we're trying to build. And we wouldn't be worried about these problems about regulation, refereeing, judging, and all these problems if we knew we had a FIFA in our sport. Today we don't. So who says that Mohammed Shahid is a good guy? What if he wasn't? Maybe I am really thinking of planning the fight. Maybe I am thinking of paying off the referee to do something.
Hidden agendas,
right? Because it is on the guy is the boss of the organization, and if he makes that decision as the president or CEO, is that a wrong thing? Because there's no regulation to control it. Is there any rules how to control it? Is there a FIFA to do it? And that's why people say, oh, the whole world of MMA will not support it. It's true. They will not support having a FIFA on top of all of this. Why would you want to regulate something that we've built bigger than the regulation bodies? Why are we making them bigger than us? So we get policed. That's why you don't see that support from any organizations in the world. And for us, believe that as Brave, we've been part of the biggest sports development program in the world from what we've done with IMMAF, because we believe that they are going to be the FIFA of MMA in the future. But they start amateur, and the regulation started after we had pro. So they are lagging behind as a regulatory body to try to catch up with us. And we don't really need a regulatory bodies. We make our own rules. Tomorrow I want to say that, let's fight with 16 ounces gloves. I can do it. To a point, I can even make people slap each other in my organization to start changing where to go from what, or different promotions even have without gloves. You go to bare knuckle fighting, Why not? You could do whatever you want. No weight classes. You can do whatever you want. So it's always that situation where you're like, you can do because system allows it. Don't call them wrong. You can't accuse them because system allows it. We need to build a system that all our problems are solved through it. And the system does not allow you to bring that problem back. And it takes 3 different steps. One is to have a global governing body, which has to be a powerful governing body. 2, you need to have a brand that can become that voice. And 3, ultimately, the end game is to have a business model that supports it. And we've always said our vision is very clear. That regulation body has to be supported and empowered. It's why since Brave started in 2016 and since 2016, you will see us working directly with IMMAF without even bothering about, hey, focus on yourself first. You just started, who are you, But we still took care of them because we knew we're not starting this to become another competition. We're doing this to change the whole world's MMA industry and to bring that new system. So we worked with IMMAF, and you see that IMMAF World Championships before the ones that happened in 17, 18, 19, it's not worth watching, It was in a kitchen somewhere, And so we had to not only do the event, but show that it is better than any other combat sports world championships you will see. Wrestling is now in line with that because they're doing a very good job in terms of production and lighting and stuff. But it wasn't when we did in 17. We had the best setup for any combat sports world championship that you'll watch. It was like a festival that empowers the organization. Today, IMMAF is in a pole position with 120 plus countries registered. 50 to 60 countries are recognized by their national sports authorities, which makes them the largest. WADA recognized now. They have everything that is needed to reach there, and it's not yet there because we still have this promotions that are the bosses, and we don't really need them. But what they've done with their events and the talents, now we're seeing the upcoming talents. Ramzan Gitinov, I think, was insane. I don't know what to call him. I say that it's GSP and Khabib had a baby, it'd be Ramzan Gitinov,
A monster to come.
Exactly, that's what he is. I mean, 32 fights, fight win streak, but came from the amateur ranks to where he is. Rasul, who you will see tomorrow, he's beat Kyle Schneider in wrestling, who's one of the greatest of US wrestling, the youngest Olympic gold medalist. And Rasul beat him. He's a world champion in IMMAF. He's the number one heavyweight ranked in IMMAF, and now doing his debut at 0-0. Not fair,
0-0 is misleading.
Misleading, 100%. And that's a monster right there. He could be the greatest heavyweight right now. I don't see anybody with that kind of complete skill set that he has today in the heavyweight division. But it shows that there's a development program. So when you want to see the day when 0-0, when that day comes, when you look and say 4-0, oh shit. 4-0, that's a big thing. Why? No. Because that 4-0 is 4-0 because he was fighting 0-0 with all the Ramzans and the Rasuls and these kind of 0-0s. So that system allows it that 4-0 becomes a big thing. We don't have to be 30-0, because they have done their job. So these tweaks do happen, and I think in MMA, we have that room for it to make that change. And the last final thing of the Brave going global, 29 countries, 5 continents, people think we're crazy to do it. Why do you do it? It's two factors. One, we have gone to every part of the world. We did a lot of co-promotions with organizations. We want to build the community together. We are not there to compete with, you're the local organization, I'm going to come and destroy you. That was not the mentality. Collaborate together. Let's work together. You benefit, we benefit. You have the global exposure, we have the local expertise, and we work together. We both win, and we can tomorrow make that a bigger structure in your own countries. And that's what we did traveling around the world. But at the same time, we're building that relationship. We're also doing one important thing is to do what people ask, why are these biggest fighters in the world today come from Brave Combat Federation? I said, because that's the only fighters are big, because that came from Brave. There are the same amount of fighters in 1,000 other organizations too. They can't do what we're doing. So unfortunately, those Kamza Chimaevs and the Johnny Walkers and the Porias are not being known to the world. We are taking that sacrifice to go and do an event in India, an event in Pakistan, an event in countries that nobody else goes to, and do international events for the first time, because when organizations go, they want a big TV deal, they want good economy where they can get sponsorship. For us, no. We will go to India, make a Swedish fight from Chechen origin fight there in the main event, or Philippines fight in the main event in Ireland. Makes no sense, but we keep doing that because they will become where they are. So we build fighters. Globalization is the easiest way to build fighters into superstars faster. And nobody wants to do it because there's an economic factor to it or the balance sheet factor to it. But on the other hand, it's also bringing the world together for the third big topic. And that is when the world and community is together, and especially the media, promotions, international regulation body, you put the final piece of the puzzle. That is the most successful business model in sports. It is not our business model. It is not boxing, UFC, Brave, MMA, none of this. We have the most failed business model in sports history, by the way. 7,000 MMA promotions, you will see how much are actually making money. And then the ones that are going viral today, saying that we are taking the biggest fighters, and these are just people who are raising funds and splashing that money. You give me that money and I will splash it too, And I promise you, a lot of people know how to splash it really well,
Yeah.
But we still haven't seen the business model. We haven't seen the success of the business model, other than for one organization, which was a monopoly organization, or the father of our sport, let's say. But other than that, the business model is fixed. So you had to bring a business model that makes sense, which is the franchise business model or the league model. La Liga, Bundesliga, Serie A, but you can't have those league model because there's going to be a lot of investors putting their money into a structure, which is a great thing for every country, and we don't have to worry about following other leagues. We have our own country's leagues to follow. Then we have our country's teams to follow. We have our own stories. We have every community outside of fighters involved in it, from businessmen to media platforms to businesses also involved in it, and celebrity names because of the clubs and stuff. They become our story. They become our thing. But the difference with that is you can't have that if you don't have somebody to regulate that.
Yeah.
You can't have a football league today and let's say I am the biggest boss in the country and I have my team. I'm always going to win. I could always win. Why? Because there's no regulation. But now in football you cannot, because it's a FIFA system. If Manchester United wants to come and make a team today in Bahrain Football League, the system does not allow it. The FIFA system does not allow it. The Continental Confederation structure doesn't allow it. I could have all my teammates into foreigners. I cannot do that. The system doesn't allow it. There is regulations behind it. So when you make a league, there should be regulation behind it for people to have trust in investing their money in the security and the safety. So if you think about it, we've built all those three things. That's why it was a master plan from day one. I think this is something that will be in the books and in the documentaries in the next 10 years. And we will clip this because I think it's definitely going to be a truth that comes out,
But the thing is, now when you are traveling the world and more people are knowing Brave, more fighters appear. Even here, the amateur scene, we are seeing fighters who are fighting 20 plus fights and they are ready to go to pro. Now won't this be a huge pressure on Brave that you need to make these fighters fight, or the selection process, how to filter this huge amount of fighters who are willing to fight in Brave? Have you thought about having like a mini Brave promotion just to filter them out, or have maybe a reality show or something? A
reality show for sure. I mean, that's a very interesting concept, and it's more of an entertainment thing. I know that reality show is not going to solve the problem of our problem which we're discussing now, but reality show is more of an entertainment thing, education thing, because you'll see more of the backstories of the fighters, their mentalities, what they go through, get into the personal life of the fighter and living with the fighter. So I like the reality show concept because it always teaches you more about athletes and MMA fighters for sure. But the question you asked about all this growing and the fighters coming up, the amateur scenes, is there room for it? Absolutely not. You're right, absolutely not. There's no room for everybody. And that is a problem, again, another problem in the MMA industry in our system today. Our system does not allow us to feed everybody. Whether it's UFC, they have a limit. Every organization has a limit. Even though we have 7,000 MMA promotions in the world today, we still have a limit. India alone has over 47 MMA promotions.
Wow.
They don't have, they have a limit. 37 promotions cannot fill up the amount of fighters that is coming to come and fight, regardless of maybe, but these are low quality, regardless of whatever the quality is, they cannot fill up all the fighters who are actually professionals.
But these low quality promotions are also necessary in our ecosystem.
Absolutely.
How you are gonna bring some fighters to fight at the best level if you don't see them fighting in other promotions? Have like a record 5-0, 7-1, something like that before you bring them here and fight the real fights.
So I'm going to give you the whole map, right? This is what we call as Brave, what we started the organization, is to create a global ecosystem for the sport of mixed martial art. That's our tagline, a global ecosystem for the sport of mixed martial art. How does it look like? It looks like a nice, good map, right? So all our problems will be discussed. How do we get them into the top level if they are not going through the smaller promotions and jump into our promotions? How do we fit enough opportunities for everybody else? So now that we did the basic, which we discussed about creating a regulatory authority and empowering them, it's not yet done. And I think in the next 5-6 years, it will become the actual FIFA. But on the other hand, we had to become a voice as well. So Brave became a voice today as becoming a global organization. Now we have the voice to talk about a new model, which people will look and say, it makes sense because these guys are in the MMA industry and becoming consistent for the past decade. So we have a right to speak. I didn't want to speak about the league model 5 years back. They would slap me in the head and say, you have no experience in the MMA industry, regardless of whatever we say, our experience in the sports world. Finally, we bring the model called Brave National League model, which is what we announced a year back that we are launching it. And the launching will happen in 2024 and 2025 with initial leagues. And then that will spread into, hopefully, the leagues around the world under one umbrella structure of FIFA, which is going to be the regulatory authority governing body of the world. What that does is, let's take that whole system that we built into one country. We create the global ecosystem does not happen without multiple national ecosystems. So we take it to one country like India. We talk about because the population is nuts, right? And it's so big. You have so much promotions. It doesn't fit anyways. But when you have a league structure now, one, the money is floating in because each team is owned by investors, which allows the league's valuation to grow high and the investments come into board. And when all that money is there, the national television or the regional television finds that more appealing than anything else abroad in terms of sports content. Business-wise, content-wise, media-wise, amazing. The national media will love to eat that product out of their hands, you know. But what happens to the fighters then? Now one thing gets solved because now the fighters will have the opportunity to get 23 or 18 at the minimum level of athletes in each clubs or each teams, let's say. So that's a huge number of athletes for a country to be at the highest level. What happens next is to have that league becomes Division 2, Division 3, Division 4. But again, at a pro level, maybe you wouldn't need that much divisions, but who knows? It could be at the pro level. Or maybe more teams would also join in, from 8 teams to 10 teams. Maybe we'll have a time where we will reach 32 teams if the sport is growing really high. So you're having flat, horizontal, and vertical going around. But to even reach to this vertical point, you have to pass, like the football, we have the amateur semi-pro. World Cup is the end goal, the top end, but the bottom end is to reach there, you will have the amateur circuit. And that's where IMMAF already has that built. So now we call it as this structure of the vertical structure is called gym to glory. So when you're in a gym, now your father sits home and that son comes again. Days have changed. It's been 15 years, 10 years past this podcast now. And 10 years past this in the future, that kid comes to the dad and says, or girl or boy, comes and says, I want to be an MMA fighter. He says, you know what? Go to this academy because those days, in 10 years from now, we won't call gyms. MMA gyms will become MMA academies. Because now you'll have Arsenal, Juventus academies here, which will be the scouting program for the clubs to take for their gyms because their gyms are their biggest business, which will also be the clubs' academies. So go to this academy. The scouting program for the league happens through this, you know, and then they take you to the club and put you in the side, you know, whether you're the reserves team or whatever it is, until you perform. Talent is the only variable. If you keep winning in the scouting program, which is not scouting program, which is the academy, which is not part of the club, these academies will become the feeders. They have a purpose as well. And they feed, and you go to the club as a reserve guy who's in the youth team or whatever, and you continue to perform, and you continue to bring medals at the youth championships at the age of 13, 14, 15. Bring me golds and silvers, you will immediately be put into the next level of going to the senior at the age of 18. Once you go into the senior level and you continue to bring gold medals every single time, believe me, regardless of your face looks, regardless of your nationality, regardless of anybody liking you or your personality, doesn't matter. If you keep bringing that gold, you are obliged by the club to make sure that you will be in that team, because a team winning is where the club makes the biggest amount of money from the league. And at that time, you'll also have the opportunity to make your own decision, because now you did this, other clubs are watching you. You're free scouted, which we don't have that situation today unless we promote the athlete. Here it's free scouted because I need to win as well. I'll come and say, can I take that guy off him? I'll go to his father and speak to him and tell him that I will do better for him. I'll pay him better. We'll give him a better deal. There is different business negotiations happening. And as the system allows you to not be stuck in Brave or UFC for the next 10 years, no, there is a window where you can do the transfers. And there is a benefit for it for the club. The system allows it. It's all based on the system. And then he joins the other club if he wants to buy it, or let's continue with the same place, and he goes and wins world championship medals multiple times, and then they take this individual and put him into the roster of joining the league, the big league structure of Brave Arab League structure, and he joins the team as one of the participants in the 2032 edition. He becomes a player there, and now he's getting monthly salaries because he's in the season. He's not a fight by fight. He gets injured. There's a substitute for you to compete in your weight class, because you have to have 23 athletes. But what do you do when you're injured? You get paid salary because the club has a system to pay salaries. It's not about fights anymore. It's not about bonuses anymore. That's a league structure, but you will be paid salary like any other employees being employed, not a contractor like we have in our system. In our system, the fighter is a contractor. He's not an employee of the company. You know what I mean? So you're actually messing with them, right? if you think about it, all the problems will be solved because now we have 100 academies being built, which means all these athletes that can be fit into academies now gets the opportunity to become in the clubs and get at the higher level. And eventually he reaches to the point that he's playing for Bahrain Warriors, which is one of the clubs in the Arab League, let's say, and he's competing, and Bahrain Warriors will get the second place in the league. And eventually we reach to a point that IMMAF, the governing body, says, we have the amateur world championship. Similar to that, we'll have a professional world championship. Countries bring the professional athletes. This is the day everything changes, because in that World Cup that happens, as you mentioned, which is the icing on the cake at the pro level, here you'll be fighting for your country. Now, as Bahrain, when we are going to go to that World Cup, we're looking at each clubs and seeing who performed the best. And now this boy is being taken to the national team to compete in the World Cup. Yes, he won't get paid, and you'll think at that point, but will we have the Khabibs and the Corners represent their country if they don't fight for nothing? They get paid millions if they fight today. Why they will go and fight for free for your country? They won't. Today they won't. In this system they might not. They'll be like, it doesn't make sense. But guess what? A little more detail into this. It gets into the core of the sports structure of countries as well. The moment you represent your country in the World Cup, and the World Cup decides, the winning country gets $30 million. Country, not athletes. The country gets $30 million. Go to any country sports structure and you tell them, I need to go to this competition because if we have a chance to win, and if we win, we're bringing back $30 million to our country's economy, sports economy. What they will do is they'll say, hold on, come here. If that opportunity exists, let's do one thing. Let's get you the best trainers, best coaches, best everything. But hold on, we don't have the money as a country. Maybe we are a smaller country in Africa or somewhere, but we don't have the budget to do that. But we want to do this because that opportunity is unbelievable. Investment, right? But I still genuinely don't have the money in the bag.
Yeah.
So what do? Well, we are the country. So what I can do is every billboard, every lamppost, every government places opportunities we have in the country will be all the fighters and the athletes' pictures. Billboards, lampposts, TV channel, president talking about it, prime minister talking about it, sports minister coming and helping them, getting them into, they are everywhere. Why do they do this? The government takes them up, so the private sectors will know that their marketing opportunity is no more influencers, their marketing opportunity is no more celebrities or movie stars. Today's marketing opportunity for the next 3 months is the sports athletes. That's why instead of going and getting movie stars on board, when World Cup happens, they everywhere advertise their athletes. For that 1 month, athletes are more valuable advertising platform than anything else. So government plays a key role, so the private sectors come and advertise, and the advertising money is what we use to give them what they need, and then they go and compete. Now imagine all the structure is done, they become superstars of the country, right? The billboards and everywhere you go, the building is your face. And then imagine you go and you win that 30 million. You will have statues.
Like winning the World Cup.
Absolutely. But it started with that guy putting 30 million on the spot. And you become having your statues. And then the big boys used to get 1 million, 2 million, 5 million when they're fighting, who didn't want to be there, now looks and says, oh shit, when I used to go and fight.
I'm next.
Yeah, because when I used to go and fight and I carried the flag and everybody was like, ole, ole, they were doing this because I was representing the country. Now I'm nobody because other than tax, I give nothing back to the country. They give back 30 million to their country, or give the opportunity to get 30 million back to the country by taking zero. You know, of course they would get bonuses and supports maybe, but that's on the will, it's not the structure. Yeah. Imagine, this is the depth, the downside of what you spoke about, the Burj Khalifa, right?
Yes.
I mean, that is what we are building in one side. That ecosystem. Now, that boy has a statue when he came and told you that he wants to be an MMA fighter. How? The system allowed it. Who created the system? It doesn't happen. One brand, one human. We cannot do it ourselves. We need everybody with us. We need media to come and say that, let me be the devil's advocate and ask questions on this. Let me try to break this down and see why we are not doing this, why the rest of the world is not supporting to do this. We should all be coming together and try to make this happen for the future of our sport. Then we don't have to worry about an American promotion trying to call our Arab fighter and seeing him and liking him and selecting him to go there. And he has to work hard to be marketable and speak English and learn English. None of this exists anymore. The structure, the system allows it. It's what we call the global ecosystem. The day MMA can have Lionel Messi, we don't have to listen to his interviews. We don't have to see him do his eyebrows or look good or any of this. But he just needs to go play football and win the medals, man. Score the goals, win the medals, make the team win. and that's it. You will become the greatest. MMA cannot have that today. It doesn't have the power. The sport doesn't have the power to do that because we're not in sports business. We're an event business, and anytime it's an event business, you run an event tomorrow. How do you sell tickets and sponsorship? You have to bring somebody who can add value to your event. Find a celebrity, find an influencer. That's what you have to do because we're in the event business. Unfortunately, we need to change that, and this is what Brave is involved in. When people look from the outside, they look at Brave and they think it's a promotion, and we talk MMA topics. No, we should be talking to Brave sports topics because we are outside the MMA world. MMA is a sports we love, and we are trying to develop that. But you cannot develop MMA from inside the bubble. You have to bring the sports world to MMA. And while the MMA world is trying to reach out to the first topic we discussed, MMA world is reaching out to the public who doesn't know MMA. What we are trying to do is bring the sports world to MMA, where MMA does not know what sports industry is. It's as simple as that. And I think with all our knowledge, with thanks to Bahrain and His Highness, we have this opportunity to get the knowledge of sports from the governing level. If you look at the history, and I say that why do we have the right to discuss about this whole global ecosystem is from our experience. Find me a promotion that has, like Brave, where we have the experience of the Kingdom of Bahrain's experience behind us. We are the first country to bring F1 into the country, into the region. We have brought Ironman into the region. We're the first team to compete in Tour de France. We have investments in clubs like Paris FC and Cordoba in Europe. We have events hosted in our country, whether it's F1, whether it's combat sports events. Some of the biggest events are happening in our region today. But at the governance level, our founder is the head of sports. He's the head of the Olympic Committee. Today, that has reflected on Bahrain as well, to have Bahraini president as the head of Asia. And hopefully, one day, we will be looking at that regulation, that investment knowledge, and that hosting events knowledge combined together to share that with MMA. It's a vast amount of knowledge in different organizations. Bahrain's the Asian Football Confederation president is His Highness Sheikh Salman bin Ibrahim. So whether it's the biggest organizations like FIFA, finalist for FIFA presidency election with Infantino as well. So we're talking about the top organizations, top level governance, to the biggest events for hosting like F1s, to investing in footballs and other sports that are mainstream sports in the world. Which MMA organization is bringing that experience into mixed martial art world today? That's the experience we're bringing. But when we get into open the door and close the door, we're in this MMA bubble where it's just MMA guys and we talk MMA questions. But I think it's time for us to talk bigger things.
It's a dream coming true to see that MMA becomes like a national mission, that you need to do it and follow these steps for your country, not only for yourself. And also it's for the fighters to have that vision, to know where I will be next. Now I'm starting at the beginning when clubs and academies are competing with each other. Then I know what will be the next step if I win. This is a motivation for me to win and go to the next level. Then you have the following one. Always you will have what will be next. And you are motivated by that. You will not stop because you have something in mind where I will be if I put some more effort in this. Our minds are programmed this way. Even in PlayStation, in a mobile phone when you play, there are always achievements to be unlocked. And this is what gets you addicted to the games. You want to always unlock the next achievement and go to the next. If you have it in MMA, the same thing will happen. People will be committed more. And also, when it becomes a national mission, you will have more sponsors who will be sponsoring the fighters and academies. And this is what we are lacking at the moment. Many fighters always, in the interview that I conduct with them, they say that there is a lack of sponsors. We are not like outside where there are sponsors. Now, a sponsor would be interested. They would see the value that they are getting from sponsoring some fighters. Yeah. On the other hand, if I would like to be a critique on some area, maybe there will be more competition in academies that I won't allow my fighters to go to the other academy and train there. Maybe without such competition, it would be they would be free. I would like to train here, train there, but then they would be competing. No, I would like to keep my fighter. These are mine. You are betraying me if you go to other club. What do you think?
Absolutely, and that's a healthy competition. I would love that to happen. But we need that, right? We need, because they value the athletes. It shows how much they value it, but At the same time, it should not be a system issue where the fighter is stuck. You know what I mean? That's where, for example, when we have, even you're in the club, you're fighting for the league and the team, you have a contract, but you're not stuck like they are stuck today in MMA organizations for they cannot leave the organization at any cost until they don't breach their contract and finish their contract. We don't reach that point, because that's why the transfer windows exist. But at the academy level, before they get scouted to the club, for the academy it's perfect, because the academy's business is different from the club's business. The club's business, when I scout from an academy, I take the athlete from an academy, and then I get why the academy why the athlete comes to the club is because now the athlete does not have to pay any money. The moment he joins the club, now
Sponsored.
he's taken care by the club. Well, maybe he might not get money, but he's not paying money. But at the academy level, he had to pay fees. That's how academies make money. So for them, the more, if 20 people go from my academy to the club, then that's where all the fathers like you, the kids who had the dreams, they're all going to bring it to my academy. I want to compete. So today, if I, for example, from my head, right, you follow football as well, but today if my kid comes and says, I want to be a football player, put me in academy, in my head, from lack of knowledge of the depth of football, I'll be La Masia, let's take him there. Why? Because that's where some of the best athletes in Barcelona came from. Messi and all these guys came from there. So that must be the best academy. Or Ajax, you know. These are the two academies in my head I can think of that are building the next generations. So the academy's reputation goes, but the academy makes money from fees. And that's where they want to attract more people here so they can send them to the clubs, because that's where the reputation is. The feeder of the clubs become the academies.
We are sending more fighters to the clubs.
Absolutely. If the clubs are taking from my academy, that's my money. And of course, they don't give the athletes for free. The club buys the athletes from them in a fee with a fee format. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be one club. They have competition with all the other clubs can take from there. It's a good system, but it's not a gym system. That's the difference. You know, you become an academy where you are part of this system. So as a media, you will also be part of the system. Now the gyms have changed. They became academies. Athletes are no more just fighters running around for money. You have to go into the system, get plugged. And in the plugging system, the federation benefits a lot, because if you are in the system, you have to go to the amateur ranks to be at the league level. So the federation is a big part of it. Federation doesn't feel left out by the private sector model of MMA coming in. They are a big part of it because they are part of the first half of their growth. So the federation is there, the gyms and academies have changed, the athletes have changed, and then the media comes in and they're like, now I have 20 different stories. This is exactly what happens, that if you go to college football in USA, that is much more bigger than many other sports in other countries at a professional league level, you know. And the reason why is there is stories behind it, academy stories behind it, club stories behind it, owner stories behind it. And today's league models are more storytelling than once upon a time. Today, if you look at it, people are talking about, Manchester United being bought. That's a story that, if you look at it, the old days, we didn't even know who the owners of the clubs were, you know. We were really looking at just Zidane's and Beckham's and, you know, living the life of football, but we really didn't know what was happening at the ownership level. The stories were not being told. Today, we have so much stories to be told. Amazon Primes and Netflixes and all these guys are taking stories of clubs and they're building processes more than the athletes. They have all or nothing, these kind of docu-series. The content plan is increasing, the storytelling is increasing. So from media platforms, they're sitting and they're saying, I don't need anything. The money is here. The advertisement is here, because in the end of the day, I need more sponsors as a club. You're the media platform. As a sponsor, as a club, of all I'm doing, my investor has put money in. One of the parts of my money has to go to what? To media. Why? You need to say good things about my club. I think you need to come and say great things about my players, because tomorrow I want you to tell Harry Maguire is an amazing player so I can get my 80 million back, you know, for some reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to play this game, because a lot of people, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like we had some of the fans talking about a player, Ferran Torres, who went from City to Barcelona, and they're like, we got fooled by City, you know, because they did great promotion for him to get rid of the player. But I don't know if it's true, but I'm just saying that systems work because media has a big role to play in our ecosystem.
Definitely.
For us, and we are all going to be involved in the advertising of media. Now, for a year, like, I need the whole world. Is UFC going to advertise on you? Is somebody else who's going to put money on you? Your ecosystem puts money because you are Arabic, you are Middle Eastern, you are regional. You become an important role for us. I won't pay $5,000 to a media in Canada to say nice things about me, because that doesn't help me in my investors.
Irrelevant.
Yeah, irrelevant, because my investors are not MMA guys. The investors and the people that are putting money in and buying shares and taking decisions are not sports people. They are shareholders and celebrities. They listen to you. That's all in front of their eyes. It becomes a complete national ecosystem where we're all enjoying. The athletes are making a living that is sustainable. But again, it will not be the same in every country. Depends on the country's economy as well. You will go to a country that is completely broken down economical, so it will be lower. Just like football, it's not the same. You can't say that Saudi league is the same value as Pakistan league or the Indian league, because the economy does not allow it. That differences will be there. A little bit of rules and structure differences will be there, but at least it's a system under one umbrella. And that global ecosystem, I think, is what we need to build by creating multiple national ecosystem. It all starts with the first three mega big balls, which is introducing the league model next year. And when you see the league model introduced, you will witness the first time you actually saw the logo of Apple. That's how it's going to be, because the change is coming, and the change is going to be part of all of us in the industry, and we're all going to benefit from it. And all the first movers in every industry, whether it's gyms, whether it's management or in media, if they are part of this from day one, we are going to be the MMA fightings and the UFCs in the ecosystem that they've built in USA, and we still cannot break it, because that's that group of bubble. We will become that in our own country, and we wouldn't need anything else. And it's going to be an sustainable economic sports structure. We create a sports economy through MMA, and we're all part of it.
As you mentioned, the only constant thing in life is change. Change is coming.
Yeah.
And you need to be agile in order to adapt and keep moving and keep improving. We have stories of Kodak, of Nokia, who didn't adapt to change, and what happened to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And yesterday, I just wanted to highlight a thing about having the stars in MMA. We had a podcast with Rio and Shurugi, and we highlighted on the concept of storytelling, as you mentioned. By nature, people are attracted to storytelling. Since we were kids, when your mother tells you a story before sleep, if you give content, and I experienced this myself in my channel, where when you put just the news and telling the fact or so on, it doesn't bring much reach. However, when you bring it, even if I'm talking not in a perfect way, just telling it as a story or saying something and giving them my reaction, this would attract people. They will keep asking questions and tell us more about this. You highlighted something, they like this dialogue or stories that you are highlighting. In social media, I feel that you need a PhD in social media to understand it.
True.
I have a TikTok channel for MMA 101, and there are videos that reach like 800,000 views, and some others who are 500. I try to analyze, to study why this had this much reach and this one doesn't. You don't know. It's by the choice of background music or the way you put a video. But then I realized some areas that people are more tending to watch these videos, like most importantly, to be short to the point, to have that attractive beginning in the first 3 seconds, those sort of things that attract people. But still, I like in Brave, and I told the guys, I like in Brave that you are doing so many different things. I like the watch party that you did with Jose Torres and Ahmed Amir, although it was missing to have a small video for the fight where we can see the fight and the commentating at the same time. But I like the idea to see their reactions and they give their feedback from their experience. Oh, he took the single leg, he's doing that, and he should do this in order not to fall down. So you are trying new things. You are not afraid of doing new things and just sticking to what all people are doing. And one day you will see one thing which is going viral. You don't know how. But people choices and what best suits them, you never know until you try different things.
Absolutely. And I think we are, if you look at our generation before us, we look like aliens to them. But for us, the next generation looks like a little bit of aliens to us as well, you know, and they do, and absolutely right, you know, I mean, the algorithms and the study that people do on the social media side of things, it's insane. I mean, we are making a lot of mistakes as we go forward more than before, because before the change was slower, Today the change is so fast that the moment you realize that, oh, how important YouTube is, you already lost an year of not focusing on YouTube over something else. And then the moment you start focusing on something else, you see that falling off and Snapchat and something else coming up on board. So the change is quick. And I think this is why I feel that media is so important in sports today, more than ever. More than ever we've had before. Media today is the most important thing, and that partnership, media, technology, and sports, is the future of business. I feel like, and they combine together is where I think most of the top businessmen have these three on their walls as where is the growth of our company going tomorrow, regardless of what your company is. Where does our company go tomorrow? Sports, media, and technology. It has to be these three
They
things.
need to sync.
They need to
with
sync.
each other. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in MMA it's great because we are not fragmented in the sense that MMA media is MMA media, MMA promotion is MMA promotion. We're not an organization which has 20 different sports under one club, nor are we a media platform that has 20 different sports under that media. So it's easier for us to merge together and take the benefit of each other. And for us, we want to introduce that technological change into it, use digital media at the highest level as much as possible, make all the mistakes that you want to make. And eventually the experience of what the fans would like, we never know. Like, that's why the watch alongs that we did, would love to have the video, and that's a great point there. But also on the other hand, I am a person who likes to, and it just comes from different opinions, but I came from a side where I'm like, I want earphones and watch a watch along of somebody talking about it and mute my game what I'm watching and just watch it, and he will do because their commentary is different from the commentators, because commentators are very formal. They have to be a little bit formal in the sense they can't say, this guy is shit. I mean, they can't use that word. They can't say that, you know what, I would have beat him. I would have taken that single leg and hit him with a hammer, Like, you can't use these words because you're a commentator in the whole show structure. But if watch along, he can say whatever he wants. He can take your phone call to his friends, put on loudspeaker and say that I'm watching this match. Did you believe that this thing happened? You can do whatever, right? That's what I want to enjoy maybe more than the professional commentators who will never say bad about a defender who's been a disaster, maybe, But this guy can start yelling at him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the watch party, you feel like Ahmed Amir or Torres are sitting beside you and watching with you
exactly
the fights.
And that's what the engagement also starts. So then I'm like, I don't like what he's saying, He's constantly keeping on saying that this fighter's takedown is not good. You know what? Let me send the message on the comments, And you're like, but there's 100 comments there. I'm like, no, I can do super chat. Things start changing now. It gets crazy, like that's the engagement. The fact the technology allows us, we should be capital. And I want as much engagement with media, technology, and with the brave fans, and that's our goal for the future on the digitalization side. I think we can do it. That's why, and we don't want to do it alone. We want to do it together. Like, we want to do it like you have the fan base, we have the fan base. We bring the fan base together. You have the product, we have the product. And how can we use our resources to get the maximum to the fans who are looking forward to enjoying it? How do we get them the best experience possible? Yes, the quality of the fights are important. Yes, the production is important. But also, yes, the technology and the reach and how they can access to us and how can they take their anger out or their happiness out is also important to get that engagement in. And you're giving multiple platforms to do that, whether it's in Arabic, whether it's in English, and eventually also to get to choose. Maybe today I like Mohammed Shahid doing the watch along. No, I don't like it. I want Yousef to do the watch along, and I want to listen to Yousef's watch along, and I can switch it because we both are doing watch along. You want two options, we'll give you two options.
Yeah.
This is the world today, and we have to give the fans what they want to do. And when we can do it, why not?
True, 100%.
Where do you see MMA 101 in the future? Do you have a short-term and a long-term goal for them?
Yeah, definitely. So the long term, let me start with the long term. I want to be having the first platform that people trust first, that we are not putting fake information or just hearing some rumors and putting some news, then later on after we get the engagements they discover that it's false information. I would like to be the place where they look at to make sure if such a news is a rumor or a new thing, and of course to focus on our Arab talents, Arab fighters who don't have that much media covering them or shed light on them. We mentioned about storytelling. People love to hear the stories of these people, and I do interviews with so many Arab fighters, and They tell us where they started. Not everybody has a Porsche and is rich. They are coming from the lowest of the lowest, and still they have the difference between those and other fighters who think they are fighters and sitting on the couch is that these people have the determination to continue. Even if I don't have the resources, I will pursue my dream and do whatever I can. Mohammed Fakhruddin is one of the examples of such talents, and he's a role model to the young generation. Mohammed Fakhruddin, there were so many issues he faced in Lebanon, without mentioning details, but we kept seeing him training at the worst conditions. He's an inspiration to us. Similarly, you have young talents who now they know that this path is not easy. I need to work hard, not to put excuses that if I get sponsored, I will be training. If I have a better gym, I will be a champion. No, don't put such excuses. Work on yourself, whatever is available for you. Then all the good things will come by default. Believe in this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think absolutely right there.
And for the short term, I would like to be an Arabic commentator for
Amazing.
a promotion such as Brave, for example.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like we said, we are definitely planning to get that into the books. That's one of our checklists to hit. We will be getting commentary in multiple languages. We're looking at focusing on Arabic, Spanish, and French as 3 languages that we want to get our commentary in. So definitely that is part of our immediate next step plan to get that out there. So we are having I think we gave you the whole business plan today in this conversation, A to Z. But to say that definitely we have a Middle East focused plan as well to do multiple other things to reach Middle East people, because there's so much we learned from the past as well, and a lot of things to adapt to the future as well. And I think we want to bring them all together. We have done what we had done in the past 7 years. 3 years of COVID cannot be counted with the struggles it was, but apart from that, in 5 years, as we really thought of 4 to 5 years, less than 5 years, let's say, we're able to build this brand to what it is today. Now it's time for us to give specific goals for each region. A lot of people look and say that why we don't do a lot of events in Middle East, why we don't take a lot of Middle Eastern fighters, and you come back and say that if we did do that, we would just become another promotion for you to fight and not care about your fighters or value their wins as much as their wins in an international organization. Today, you look at those fighters who has fought in a legal promotions before Brave event. How many guys fought and how many have become champions and how many have been successfully proving their point of how good they are? But it was also a tough fight. It was never easy fights for them. They grew in a tough environment, Arab fighters, but nobody took them to the world. Nobody gave that opportunity. But when you say that take me to the world, but at the same time you're telling him not to go to work, how the hell do I have the money to buy the ticket for you? It's a simple, that kind of irrelevant conversations, right? Contradicting conversations. So you want us to take you to the world, but we should not be globally relevant. If you want us to take you to the world, then we should be important for all around the world. We should be a global organization for us to be going around the world. So we need athletes from around the world to be involved and events in around the world. And we have to do that. So tomorrow you will be in Philippines, you will be in fighting in Brazil. If you look at the Arab fighters from our top 10 roster that has fought internationally, we will be shocked, we will be shocked. It's only between the COVID to now time, in the 2020, 2023, is when they're fighting more in the Middle East, But beforehand, if you look at the Ahmed Amir fought in Brazil, this is completely on the other part of the world, but why not? Why not he fights in Brazil? Why not fight in India? Why not fight in Pakistan? Why not fight in Ireland, Exposure, and this is where you have to be. So I think there is a lot of people that think that you had to do that from the beginning, but where we had to build the brand into what it is in 5 years was not easy. Literally, that is exactly why no promotions go to countries around the world. We've done that in just 7 years' time, going to 29 countries, beating every record of every other organization that has even done that in 30 years' time. But it looks easy, but it's never easy. Whether it's language barriers, and you will see the effect of that in these kind of technical issues where you see the broadcast is not at the... you could have done 20 other things in broadcast. You could have done subtitles. You could have done interviews. commentary in different languages. You could have added different graphics. You could have added 2, 3 different new cameras. All that exists, but you're going to 29 countries in 5 years' time in 5 different continents. You are going to a country where they have never had international event in the past 14 years, and you're the first international event for sports. Forget about MMA, event for sports. So you're going to those countries and changing the country's perspective that this is a safe country to go to. You can do events here. We are back to life. We are back to, and this is what we need. I mean, we want to go to those kind of countries in Middle East as well, like we did in South Asia, like we did in South America, and we want to do that for Middle East as well. But when you do that sacrifice, like we said, some of the business sacrifices we face with that is to have a main event who are not relevant to the country. We lose ticket sales maybe. Yes, we lose a higher amount of sponsorship. Yeah, we might even lose some media attention on that end, but we get the bigger media attention at the long run for that athlete. The bigger picture is being seen. Same thing going around the world, the athletes get the opportunity to compete there. The biggest picture will be seen on a long run. Today on a long run, we are sitting and looking at our past 7 years and we're saying, how many fighters came from Brave, like we say, But where did that happen? We didn't think of this 5 years back, that Brave is taking the best fighters. No, we only considered that Brave was taking the best fighters once we realized that they were best fighters and they became big fighters. And that's what UFC, PFLs, everybody wants to take Brave fighters, because we are doing something that they can never do. Nobody else can do, because it doesn't make sense business-wise. It doesn't make sense in any way other than if somebody is looking at a visionary format. We are thinking at a visionary level. It is a vision. It's a long-term thing, and that is much more bigger than today's balance sheet at the end of the year is green or red. That's not the concern. The concern is a long run. Even when they say, but the balance sheet, and then we look back and say, tell me how many events in the top 5 today have started an organization, did what we did or half of what we did without raising funds from investors? Think about it. Zero. So, sustainable business model, efficient financial project which we have at Brave. How are we able to do this? Yes, we will not spend $1 million, $2 million, $5 million to get a fighter that you guys are competing, because you have investors' money to spend to get the media that makes you feel like you're number 2 or number 3. If you want to compete that whose hands are longer by competing about numbers, number 1, number 2, you can do it. But for me, it's not about that. All organizations have their strengths, but who's going to be the change? I still feel UFC is the biggest organization because they are the builders of the sport, and there's multiple reasons why, but they are there. They are the Nokia. We haven't reached the future yet, so they are the Nokia today at this stage. And then we have a very respectable organization like Bellator, which I feel like they're very respectable because they have understood business really well, and they didn't do anything fancy where they take the money of the investors and blast it or anything.
But they are ignoring the Middle East.
Absolutely.
We don't have even a platform to watch Bellator.
But I'll tell you why as well, because that's what the key point is. That's why I say a very respectable business model. Because they're a respectable business model, they didn't do the fancy things others did. So for them, they're not, instead of ignoring, it's more of, I can only enter when I get value. You know what I mean? Because that's the business way they format. If we did that, we would also not travel. But we did the sacrifice of forget that getting, let's keep going. Do I get that money from Pakistan? Maybe not. Have they done an MMA event before? Maybe not. But I'm going to go there and do it because in the future, things will change. Today we have the hero of Pakistan building Abbas. Today we have Mahmoud Raza fighting in the upcoming event. The levels such in the media will go crazy. It's step by step. But somebody has to take that step. As a business, respectful business format, that's why I said Bellator. On the business side, they're respectable. But is that a growth for MMA community or for the industry? That's why they're always in a slower format when everybody else is sprinting. We feel like they're jogging or walking a little bit. Because business-wise, I can always trust them. I can respect them on a business side. So for me, I respect them a lot because they don't do fake news. They don't do fake numbers. They don't act like they will splash money and make media out of it and then say I'm number 2. They don't do that stuff. And then I would say PFL is the most viral content today, because of the amount of money spending on media. What I mean by that is the money being splashed out. They are the viral content today at this stage. And that's how I judge organizations rather than who's 1, 2, and 3. I feel like, and then there is Brave, which is the Apple, and that's something, since we are in the Nokia world, we haven't seen it yet. But you have to If there was a fortune teller in MMA, they would approve it, but otherwise it is what it is. So we have the Apple, we have the Nokia, we have the respectful business structure, and then you have the viral content. And I think that is what the top MMA organizations are today. Other than that, I don't see anything else in the MMA world at this stage. And one championship is there, but that's a discussion for anybody who does proper journalism can dig into it and will easily understand what's going on. It's not a conversation to be had. But again, I think MMA media till today, and I loved what you said about MMA 101, that you want to get the truth out and you want to get the right content. And I think that true journalism of investigation is missing. If they did that, a lot of interesting content would come out. Even interesting content, it doesn't have to be non-appealing like my show, but it will be an interesting content, because that's a topic everybody wants. We need a true journalist in MMA who can dig and get information of what's happening. Not that I say I have 90% of age and you believe it. You know?
Yeah, and one of the things that I would like to avoid, there are some MMA media worldwide, when they get famous or so, they would be either with certain promotions and saying all the good things about these promotions and saying the bad things about other promotions, or to be tending towards the fighters only against those promotions. I don't want to have that. I want to be saying the truth always.
Absolutely.
If consider yourself on the shoes of the organization, what would they do in such case? And the same thing for the fighter. Make sure that they are getting their rights and doing what is required from them. So hopefully I can achieve this.
100%. I mean, the vision is clear, right? And I always say there is journalism. There is always journalism. And you can also look at journalism in an evil way too, right? Like, journalism can be where a guy says, I am a true journalist, and my goal is to get everything on this individual to destroy him. Everything bad about him. I don't want to take care of the good. But it's the truth. I will only take the bad, but the true bad things.
Forget about the good.
Forget about the good. Just keep the bad. But it's a true bad thing. So whether he likes to walk without shoes or whatever smallest things, I put them together. But that's also journalism.
Make the small big also.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, I think that the real true journalism, the value of journalism, is when you are bringing the facts out, and that work is done, yes, facts, but why you're bringing that out is for the benefit of the future of the industry or the country or the region. But if it is about our MMA media, bring the facts out so it is beneficial for the future of our industry and people understands it better, rather than this competition. So I always hate what I see on the MMA industry, where they're like, who's number one promotion, who's number two promotion. I said, you have to look at it differently. If you really understand, how are you ranking them anyways, So, you want to ask me who's number one, I'll say I'm number one. Why? Because I would say I have 3 reasons what nobody else is doing why I'm number one. Does that make me number one, You have to know the facts and the figures, and to make sure that which organization has what values, So you ask which is the best club for a Manchester United fan, it's Manchester United. Barcelona is Barcelona, Real Madrid is Real Madrid. We have different reasons why, but ultimately, in the end of the day, who are working for the future of this organization, that is key as well. And this is the situation today. But I'm happy to have this time with you. We want to continue a lot more discussions in the future as well. We keep it consistent. We talk more about the fighters, the organizations, the growth of Middle East. I think it's been a blessing in disguise to have you here, but also talk about what we need to do. We have the common mindset and common vision of developing mixed martial art in Middle East and for the Arab fighters. I think we're on the same direction. Let's do this. Let's continue. Let's get a little bit more aggressive and capitalize on the opportunity the Middle East is today becoming a sports hub and MMA hub, not just for Arab fighters, but for the whole world of international world. Let's capitalize on it. And thank you for starting MMA 101. We need more media. We need that kind of journalism and that kind of vision and focus on a clear idea of what you want to do. And I think that is important. So thank you very much.
It's an honor for me to be invited today to have such fruitful discussions with you, and I didn't feel the time, frankly. Thank you, and hopefully, inshallah, in next events we will be having further discussions.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.